From the misty Pacific coast to the rugged Cascade Mountains and beyond to the high desert in the east. Whether you chase black-tailed or mule deer, Roosevelts or Rockies, if you fish for bass or salmon, hunt cougars, bears, turkeys, or ducks, we want to talk about the most overlooked section of the outdoorsman community, true Pacific Northwest hunters and fishermen. You have found the podcast for you. Born in the wettest woods of the lower 48, where we only talk about the endless pursuits of the far western world to inspire you in your next adventure.
There will be many tags in our lives that go unfilled, but if your first objective is to learn and grow, you can find success in every season.
And I stand up and like, oh my God,
Your foot fell off.
it's off. Can't find it.
And ask the big questions about what truly motivates our life in the wild.
I believe that God gave us the ability to do this.
You go from plodding along and not really living to living the full, abundant life that He has for you now.
You are listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast.
All right, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. We're recording here in Roseburg, Oregon at the Bro office.
That's a fact.
Born and raised outdoors. We're here with Trent Fisher. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Jericho Brown.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Jericho. First time co-hosting.
Yeah, I
See
know.
how you do. This is your interview. So remember to follow us wherever you'd like to stay up to date, especially if you want to join us for fishing trips and hunting trips. So if you're on Facebook, join our group at Salem First Hunting and Fishing Club. Our next event is August 18th, 4 p.m. We are going to go rifle sighting, and bows are welcome to that as well. You can shoot your bow, but we're going to go back out to the farm. You can shoot up to 500 yards, which is pretty cool. And so that'll be a really fun time. If you want to join us for that, just join our Facebook group at Salem First Hunting and Fishing Club and look for the event there. So in this episode, we are going to talk about archery hunting. We're going to look at a throwback to the 1970 Oregon big game regs and have a conversation with our guest, Trent Fisher of Born and Raised.
Yeah, if you haven't met or heard of Trent Fisher, you've probably been living under a rock. Born and Raised has been around for a while now, and they're just an awesome group of guys that are doing some great things and for the hunting community. And I've learned from them a lot, and it's an exciting time to get to have a conversation with you, Trent.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for coming too. This is good to have you guys here.
I like to do it in person.
It makes a big difference.
Is not the same.
You're 100% right. The Zoom is not the same.
No,
it's not the same.
No, it's nice to have a face-to-face conversation.
Absolutely.
So, hey, we have a few icebreaker questions for you, Trent.
Okay.
So, fishing or hunting?
It used to be fishing probably, and then it changed to hunting. So yeah, I wanted, my goal in life was to be a professional bass fisherman when I was growing up.
No way.
To be totally honest with you, that is what I wanted to be.
It's not too late.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. No, I always wanted to fish the Bassmaster Classic.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's changed though. It's hunting is a bigger passion now.
One of our first guests was Jay Yellis.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, because he's a local guy up there in Albany area.
He's good.
So, and he's a great guy.
Super.
Bow or rifle?
So there's another one. I'm getting back into bow hunting this year, and actually I'm really, really enjoying it. I took a couple years off of bow hunting, just to I was going through I like taking kids, and I didn't lose the passion for it, but it seemed like the same old thing, kind of a mundane. You go out, you bugle, they come in, hopefully it happens. You get a shot.
It's so mundane.
No, it's just, we do it a lot. You got to understand, we do it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like seeing other people have success.
Right.
And so I was feeding off of that more for the last couple of years, and also getting into rifle hunting. I've loved the difference in rifle hunting, just to be a well-rounded hunter. I mean, to know bow hunting, and then rifle hunting was a brand new thing for me, and growing up, that's all we did was bow hunt. And so anyway, but I would say it's like equal between bow and rifle for me.
That's one thing. If you ask me to find an elk during the general rifle season,
Tough to do.
Never would be able to do it.
Yeah.
You can find people.
Yeah.
I found a lot of people.
But the bow season, there seems to be just a totally different game.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. Deer or elk?
So there's another one. All right. Elk growing up, elk. I finally got a chance to go hunt mule deer a few years ago and fell in love with that. And but elk would still be my answer on that. But mule deer was so fun. It was such a fun time. And I played the blacktail game like you're going to do this year. You know, the blacktail bow game. That's a fun game to play.
Yeah.
And frustrating as you can ever imagine, but it's cool too. So yeah.
Rosies or Rockies?
We grew up cutting our teeth on Roosevelt elk, and honestly, the thing about that's different between the Rosies and Rockies for me is Roosevelt's. Once you find, the hardest part is finding the things. You know, once you can get in an area and find them and hunt that area, it's usually productive, right? But it seems like you're going back to those same areas every year. Whereas Rockies will get like drawn or something in, let's say Colorado, right? And we're going to a whole new place. It's all new ground. It's so different than we're used to. This is where we grew up, you know. So that whole sense of being in somewhere you've never been. Rocky Mountain elk, they have a little bigger horns, which is, it's got to add a little bit to the equation too. It's just like, it's a difference in that. But just going back to our roots where we know the Roosevelt hunting's pretty special.
Right.
Yeah.
Which kind of answers our next question. East side or west side?
Of Oregon, I would say west side of Oregon.
Yeah.
All day long.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Amen. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
But I've also never hunted the east side, so
I've only done it
limited
once.
perspective.
I can't really say much. Can't say much here, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's funny you brought up with the fishing too. You want to be a pro bass fisherman. That's what I've been doing a ton this summer.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, not pro, but you know, we have this private pond that we've been blessed to be able to fish out there, Kaiser, Oregon, which is just north of Salem.
Oh yeah.
And I was fishing there for the last handful of times I went. I was just dead set on getting a topwater frog bite.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care that they were biting other stuff. I was just trying to make it happen, shoving a square peg through a round hole. And on that particular day, I kept getting bite after bite, like probably 20 bites. And I was so frustrated because I could not get the hook to set. I was getting so mad at myself. And so finally, I broke down. I unspooled my whole bait caster and put braided on 50 pound, because that's what the guys do
it floats better.
They put heavy braid on for fishing frogs.
Yep.
And as soon as I did that, a couple casts later, hooked into a nice 3.5 pound largemouth and brought it in. And so I was stoked about that. But
Absolutely.
you know, I do love bass fishing during the right time of year.
Yeah.
That's the best part about hunting in Western Oregon, or, you know, it's like this in a lot of places where kind of no matter what the season is, there's something to do.
Yeah.
Whether you're fishing, or I know Jericho has been really itching to get me out bow fishing for carp.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's hunting seasons are kind of spread out, spring seasons. There's just so much to be doing all the time.
We live in such a awesome place, guys. I mean, it's just, I mean, you can be out your back door and you could go catch salmon, or you could go catch a tuna, or you could go shoot a blacktail or a rose. I mean, we live in such a game-rich environment place. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And Jericho is a little different for him because he hound hunts.
Oh yeah.
And you know how that is. That takes over your whole life during
You're married to it.
yeah, and all your money goes to it, and
I know some hound hunters.
I believe your uncle.
Oh yeah, they're partially. Some of them are half crazy.
Yeah.
Half dog.
I got 5 dogs, and
oh wow, okay.
And
I have one of his pups.
What kind?
I have 4 walkers and then a blue tick. So,
okay.
But they're all young dogs. My grandpa was a guide for a while.
Cool.
You know, before the band and everything, and then when he passed away when I was younger, that was kind of my thing. I always remembered going to see the dogs at the kennel, and so as soon as my dad said I could get a dog, that was the first dog I got, was a hound. So and been doing it ever since. Been successful treeing coons, not so successful treeing bobcats.
Oh really?
I've only treed a couple. It's a hard game, and you know, a lot of time, a lot of money, and
even when you find them, or when you tree them, it's hard to find them. You know,
sometimes
sit there with binoculars looking.
It's a lot of dedication too to the dogs and training them right. And oh man, I don't envy you.
But you should make some videos on hound hunting. That might be cool.
You know, I've been offered to a couple different times, and I did that one
sure
on a
you get
cougar.
all kinds of offers,
on a
though.
cougar that killed some goats, and
nice.
so it was kind of cool going and then catching the cougar and the problem cougar. It was it was fun.
I've watched that one a few times.
It was fun.
That's one of my
see
favorite.
the actual jump and run across the road was
It's
pretty.
what keeps
pretty
you
cool.
going in the morning.
It was pretty cool.
Watching
It's
after a tough day
it's
hunting.
exciting, you know. That ended when I was a kid, so
Yep.
I don't really get to experience that part of it. So
Until we take that trip to Idaho you were talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Idaho,
You can go to
or-
other states or Montana.
Or now Utah too is wide
Did
open.
it open?
So for $100, you can get your hunting license and hunt and kill as many cougars as you want in Utah.
With dogs.
Yeah, but you know, obviously you want to be a little sparing and
Well, yeah.
respectful
But it's cool that they're actually opening it up.
right.
Yeah, that'll help. So normally we do a news story at this point in the show, but instead I wanted to talk about something real cool. Someone handed me a copy of the 1970 big game regulations.
Yeah.
So that's over 50 years ago. And I just thought it was really cool to kind of compare where we've come from and some of the new stuff. So for you guys, I have a bunch of bullet points here of what's different, but you can flip through whatever you want.
No, go for it, buddy.
And yeah, I asked earlier, kind of tongue in cheek, I was joking. I said, so what year did you first start hunting, Trent? And it wasn't 50 years ago?
Well, I wasn't born then either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I just think it's cool to see. For one, there's like hardly any special permit tags. Like I counted up in there 12 special deer tags.
it's so cool.
12.
It just says the elk ones too. It's talking about elk tags, and it says, well, there's also some damage control, but they don't even have them listed in here. They're like, that could be before or after season, it says.
Yeah, it's kind of playing it by ear.
I love it.
Yeah, and the other thing that's different about elk too on that is the Roosevelts and the Rockies were managed as two separate things.
Species, kind of?
Yeah, you know how like now we get an elk tag or you draw for the eastern units, obviously,
Right.
but they treat elk as elk. And this, they treated them as two different species, which is
interesting.
really weird.
That is.
So like all the Rocky tags were called Rocky Mountain elk tags, you know, and the Rockies were resident only at that point.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. There was only 20 draw tags, and there was no point system by that point.
No.
No points
No
needed.
points.
Yeah.
No points
Which
needed.
is pretty cool. Have you hunted antelope before?
I've not. No, I have 25 points for antelope, though.
So
25 years.
Back then, the antelope tags were still limited entry, and there were 7 of them. Seven tags. I mean, there was more given out, obviously, per tag, but there was 7 tags available. And last
7
time I
units.
looked, there's a good full page of antelope tags now between the rifle and the archery seasons.
And that was pre-computer, so you got to figure they were probably writing people's names on paper and throwing it in a bin and I'm right. I mean,
Like
I assume.
the bingo
like a
cage.
Like a bingo.
cage.
I mean, we still
yeah.
do the bingo cage for the seed numbers, but you
Right?
know.
Yeah, exactly.
Bighorn was still a once in a lifetime tag, and but there was only 2 areas to hunt, and there was 12 tags given, and then the Rocky Mountain bighorns, they weren't reintroduced until 1971, so that's the year before.
Year before
Rocky
they're
Mountain
even on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's real interesting. No goat season. No
That's
goat
cool
hunting.
to see, though, as far as like now, that's like you say, a full page of antelope, and you've got numerous bighorn, and that's pretty cool.
It's much more specifically managed rather than just, go out there and kill something.
Go kill something.
I wish I could look at the success rate difference.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because now we get all that data and you can study down to each individual unit, every single figure. But I don't know if they even would have kept track of that then.
I doubt it. No, guaranteed not, unless they had check stations or something of that nature,
Yeah.
which back in the day they used to have some, I know, but
Right.
but no, what would be cool is just to see not just success rates, but numbers of hunters. Like, how many tags did they sell in 1970 versus 2024,
And plus the tag area was so much bigger. It was like a deer tag.
Yeah.
Rather than all the different deer tags.
Yeah.
So there was some unit changes too. Stop Mountain, which is a unit up in my area that I hunt a lot, that one was called Polk Unit. Because it's in Polk County. So I thought that was interesting. And then also there was a unit that's not there anymore called Elkton.
Which is just north of us.
Yeah. So they combined that with the Siuslaw.
Interesting.
Yep. Dixon unit didn't exist. They added that one.
Really? Wonder when they did all that, like how they had to do it. It had to be for some certain tag, I would assume. I don't know.
Yeah. Something about maybe the terrain and the topography is
Could be.
different. This was really interesting. Archery Roosevelt was January through February, permit only. That was when you archery hunted for Roosevelts.
So weird.
So How do you even do that?
I don't know. And if you're super late, do they have horns still?
Yeah, I know. They're going to start falling off
getting
there,
close
right?
To, yeah, you're getting close to shedding.
Yeah.
Yep. And there was no pistol hunting allowed, which that's a thing now. You can,
You can, yeah. That's true.
And I even know a couple people who switched to pistol because rifle was too easy for them, apparently. And I guess bow's too popular for them. So
Those kind of people.
Those kind of people.
But you had to have a 437.5 grain arrow, and you had to have 40-pound draw.
Okay.
So my question is, when did compound bows become common?
So you're looking in the 70s. So Jennings T-Star, all those first wheel bows came out right around then. My dad is the one that first made up an archery chute. They'd they'd glue a bunch of cardboard together, and then they'd draw an animal on it, and they'd cut it out with a jigsaw, and then they would stick it out in the woods. And
that's a good idea.
Then they made a course.
It's an affordable way to get one of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And anyway, but so and then I remember his bows. I mean, he had a few different ones, and Martin Cougar came out, and all these overdraw things came out and everything. And so but it had to be 70s. I would say maybe 60s.
So this would have been before compounds really were popular.
Probably.
So they're talking about a 40-pound draw traditional bow, which I mean, starting off, like, I don't think there's a kid in the world that could draw that on a traditional bow, right?
Take a lot of practice
and hold it. It would be a little bit difficult.
Yeah. So that's like, not only was it January, February, Roosevelt permit only, but you had all these limitations on what you're allowed to use. But here's the other thing: crossbows were allowed. You could use not during the archery season, during the rifle season.
Wonder what the crossbows were like though back then.
Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, they weren't like the wheel crossbows now. I don't know. I have no idea.
Not like the ones with the scopes.
No, I think I'm looking at medieval time crossbows is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting because we can't use crossbows at all now.
Right.
And I don't see the harm in having them during the rifle season, but I've heard that the reason is that you can't hear the shot, so people are worried about more poaching if you can use them. So that's what I've heard, at least.
Rifle's hard enough. I don't know. I don't want to do it with a crossbow.
It is for us out here in the brushy west side and the time of year that we hunt.
It's tough.
Nothing's bugling for sure.
Well, they didn't have any bugles guaranteed. Well, I mean, pretty much. You know, when that would be a tough tag.
The only ones who did were the weirdos.
The thing to think about though is January, February there might have been snow, so they might have been. Could have been just tracking them, and getting on them.
That's true.
That way.
And I bet it was any elk too. I bet it wasn't just a bull or 3-pointer better. I bet it was any elk.
Right.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah.
And you know how we need to have a hunting license for anything, whether you're hunting coyotes or squirrels, doesn't matter. The only time you needed a hunting license then was for hunting big game or turkeys.
Or turkeys.
Yep, they added turkeys, and they still manage them like a big game animal even then.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Because now it's like you have to, no matter what you're fishing for, you didn't even need a fishing license until 1985 unless you were fishing for salmon or steelhead.
Wow.
I like at the very end of the pan flip, they put the sportsman's pledge.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
Which was like a nice little thing.
That is cool.
They don't have that anymore. They also put a list of 10 gun safety, I'll call them rules. I think they call them the 10 commandments of gun safety.
Yep.
Which I thought that was pretty cool as well to include some of that in there. But of course, the biggest difference is going to be cost, right?
Yeah.
So a hunting license was only $5.
$5 in 1970. Wonder what that inflates to now.
10? I don't know.
I don't know.
It can't be much, right?
I don't know.
Fishing license was $6, so that's weird to me. The hunting license was less than the fishing license.
That is kind of different.
Yeah. Compared to now, it's vastly different. It's almost double the price.
Yeah.
Deer tag, take a guess.
$3?
$2.
$2.
Mm-hmm. Elk tag, $10.
Ooh.
The elk were worth more, but I think there is less elk than we have now.
You are right. There was less.
Oh, and this is cool. Cougar, mountain lion. The tag was $5, and you only had the month of December to hunt them.
Really?
But you could use
hounds.
Yeah. So even in the month, just hunting them for 1 month, you could keep a better control on the population than we do with 365
100%
a day.
And you can buy an additional tag now too. So,
well, let's get into our conversation with Trent Fisher.
do it, boys.
You know, one thing, I was so distracted by the regs. I usually always give our guests some time to think about this, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to hit you with a hard one.
Bring it.
What is your favorite hunting or fishing experience?
It would have to be with family. So this last year, we took my dad on an elk hunt,
Wow.
and it was actually the first hunt we've ever bought, honestly, too. So it was a little different. But as far as just having my brother and my mom was with us, and Dad and Trevor, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So I would say with family it's going to be probably my answer every time now.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
It sounds like a big old family ordeal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it was awesome.
You know, you answered that faster than anyone ever has, and you didn't even have time to think about it. So good job.
I didn't know we'd be graded on it.
Oh yeah. I have the scale 1 through 10, and I'll give you your score at the end.
Perfect.
Yeah, but one thing about Born and Raised I was noticing, I mean, obviously everyone knows Born and Raised Outdoors, one of the OG, from DVDs to TV to YouTube. You guys are prolific in your videos you put out. I can't believe how many you get out there. It's insane.
Well, we went through the gambit on that. Like, we started out with DVDs, like you said, and it was just one a year. But it was all our hunting crammed into one DVD. And at the time, there was the YouTube. It was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. You know,
Yeah.
It was cat videos, and it was
Early adapter.
Yeah, it was a thing. And we did have a guy actually that helped us produce our very first movie called Tagged Out. We had a guy, and he was just like, "You guys should put this up on YouTube" at that
yeah.
time. And we're like, "No, dude, that's not a thing." If we would have listened to him,
Yeah, imagine where you would be now if you had done it then.
things could be different. You
I
never
think
know.
you got in on time, though, because, I mean, you guys have really done a lot, been successful. But, yeah, I was
been a
just
journey.
blown away scrolling back even just this year
Yeah.
of how many videos you guys have put out and continue to put out.
Yeah.
And now you guys have 2 channels, right? With the Waterfowl
We
channel.
do, yeah.
and-
Yeah, we have the Flyways channel and the Born and Raised channel. So we, Cody and Eric and them, they love the Flyways side of things. And so they've been building that thing up. So,
That's cool. Yeah, so duck hunting and all
yeah,
that.
duck, goose, turkey, all that stuff. Yeah.
The turkey is counted on that?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do. They have
anything
turkey
with
hunts in there.
feathers.
Anything that flies,
All right.
it hopefully dies, I guess.
yeah. With the filming and stuff.
Yeah.
Does that take away from the joy of the hunting a little bit? I mean, when you're always trying to worry about getting it captured and
Sure.
and don't shoot yet, I don't have it, or
Yeah.
does that affect the joy of being out in the woods and
So
hunting?
right off the bat, what we did when we started, we made rules. Like the cameraman. So I'm a hunter, but also a cameraman at that time, a filmer at that time. And so it was one of the rules where if you're running camera, you don't bring your binoculars, you don't bring your bow, you don't bring anything. You don't bring a wind tester. You are there to capture the moment. So you have to kind of switch roles, right? You have to go from, okay, what should we do right now in this scenario? And there's times, obviously, the camera's pointing over there, and we're going, okay, what are we doing right here? What do we do in this scenario? You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh no, I'm a filmer.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I'm capturing you doing it. All
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's so interesting. You're an observer.
yeah.
It's like you're not even there.
But it's cool. It's a whole different role, right? So you're getting into this whole thing of, okay, if I was the hunter, I would be trying to do this, this, and this. But now that I'm the cameraman, let me try to be as intricate and get the shots of us crossing a creek or something with boot shot or whatever those are. So it really pushed your limits on trying to just really, really be dialed and kind of a whole different career a little bit than you're supposed to be doing. So that was really cool to do that. And there is a time, the question that you asked kind of, yes, there is a part of when you have success and when you're going out to shoot an animal, you're going out to have fun, you're going out to learn some new things, all that too. But your ultimate goal is to shoot an animal and to have, meat for the family. That's your goal there.
Right.
And there was times that we put more pressure on ourselves, I think, than we should have. And it honestly, yes, it did change the dynamic of the whole hunt. It was just like, we have to get it done. We have to, people are expecting us to be successful, right? And that definitely had a toll to where we had to take a step back and said, all right, where are we most successful? Well, it's when we're having fun, and it's when we're doing what we love. And so step back and reassess what we're doing. And that's happened a couple different times. Yeah.
So then with that, because you would see your role is different, you're a filmer, you're not hunting in that moment, are you still able to carve out time for those hunts where you don't have the camera, where you're just out there enjoying it, loving it?
Anymore, very, very rarely. No.
Yeah.
Usually it's all documented, just because when you turn it into a business, it's still fun, don't get me wrong, but it's a business. It's like, okay, I'm it's the same as going to work on a different whatever, going to church every single and pastoring a church or something like that. Right. I'm not saying, oh man, it's a job and we don't like it or nothing, but it is definitely a business that you're trying to capture everything you see. Right. And the cool thing, I think, that like a lot of people, like when I get older than the hills, or I have grandkids, or I die or whatever, my great grandkids can see their grandpa, great grandpa, whatever, like what he did. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That, that's one thing about filming. It's right there.
It is.
You can watch it again and again. You can learn from it. Yeah. Hey, what did I do wrong here? What did I do right? You can and share it with your family, right? That's
to see what my grandpa back in the day, all the stories he tells, just to be able to see that would be so rad. It'd be so cool.
I have a couple videos of my grandpa,
you do?
running dogs, and I rewatch those all the time.
All the time.
I haven't seen those.
And it's pretty exciting.
They're on tape, I bet.
Yeah, they're on tape, so they've gotten a little a little rough around the edges, and they make some noises and squeal a little bit.
We should make those digital.
Yeah, but. Just watching that,
so cool.
It inspires me. Like, okay, I still haven't caught a cat yet, but it's doable.
Totally doable.
And so
it was doable back then.
Well,
was that 1970?
Well, yeah, around
got
there.
the regs right here.
Yeah, you can find out. Yeah. I mean, and on that point of making it a business, building a business, you've been doing calls now for a little while.
Yeah.
When did you start that?
So about 3 years ago or so, we started a call company, kind of dabbling in it. So before that, we worked with a call manufacturer, and they built our own signature series of calls. We've always wanted to do our own calls. It's kind of been a passion of ours to go from start to finish with something that you've, built, and something that you can use and call in an elk and make it happen. It was kind of a passion of ours. And so we did that, and it kind of blossomed into, okay, now we got to keep this going, because now we're not just a content company, we're a manufacturing company, right?
Yeah.
So it's been different facets, and you can see that when you walk into here, when you guys came over today. It's like we've got guys, got guys folding shirts and shipping and a whole bunch of stuff going on.
You got a guy up here editing while another guy is packing, and you got a whole assembly line of stuff to ship out, and geez.
It's a full-time business thing, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. They say, you just put videos on YouTube, and it's like, that is one tiny little part of the equation. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it.
And you guys do that T-shirt of the month club thing too, right? So man, all kinds of stuff going on.
All kinds of things.
Industrious. Have you always been pretty entrepreneurial?
A little bit, not too much. I own my own company, and but I was a timber faller. I fell timber for 18 years, and so that's what my dad fell timber, and his dad fell timber, and it just kind of. I got into fire service right off the bat out of high school, and anyway, and ended up changing from that into the timber industry, and then did that, and so I had my own crews, and I had my own, my own not employees, but my own contractors that I worked with through that. But then this all came about, and it was like just taking that leap, and jumping and hoping for the best.
Since you probably know calls super well now, right? Like what's your hand in the design process?
So I have my own call. It's called Committed. It's a read anyway. So we all kind of went in, and everybody's mouth is so different. It's really crazy. Like someone could take a call and blow it really, really well, and throw another call in and not even get a squeak out of it. It's really weird. So you want to have a gambit of different calls, and mine is very, very easy to blow. How about that? It's not a super advanced stretch, and there's a whole bunch that goes into it. But as far as that goes, it's very easy to blow, and it's something that I can use.
Okay, so like you design a call for yourself.
Correct.
And then you hope that there's enough segment of the population that matches that. Okay.
That has a similar palate to yours, and can
Is it really the palate, or is it also, well, yeah, it's going to be the palate, but what about like the strength of your tongue versus the stretch of the reed? Or
no, it is kind of palate. You know, there's a lot of, so I have a very, very ridged palate, and I don't get a good seal with the diaphragm call very well, and that's why I have to have the thinner latex and everything. So even if I do get air by it, I can still make a call out of it. And so that's where I'm at. There's a lot of guys that can, have different. Trevor and I, my brother's a dentist, and so we've spent a ton of time and a ton of his money.
That's some good insight. That's some good insight to have that, a mouth.
We did. Yeah. So we'd take an imprint of the top of our mouths, and then we were trying to make just where you could go into the dentist, get an imprint, and then make something to slip a call into, so everybody would have a flat palate. But it turned out too expensive.
Well, what if you even had that technology just for fitting a call?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be something.
No, we've tried everything. I mean,
and then it could be in dentist offices around the nation.
Yep.
Your experience as a timber faller and all that time in the woods, did that help, with hunting? I mean, you were out there all the time, and
yeah, it definitely did. I wouldn't say to the highest extent of that was the only reason we were successful, but it definitely, like, you find elk, and like we talked about, Roosevelt's, they don't have a huge roaming area. It's usually 2 to 3 to 4 miles maybe, and so you can find these elk here one day, and then when hunting season comes up, be like, they're going to be either here or here in this draw. So it definitely, being in the woods every single day, because I grew up in the woods, and then I was a timber faller, and then I've spent a big portion of my life out in the woods, and so it just I did a podcast the other day actually, and it was on woodsmanship, which is kind of a weird topic, right? And it was really cool. Like, what is woodsmanship? Like, can you get out there and I think there's a lot of that on the internet now, like this bushcraft stuff and people making their own homes and stuff like that, but to be out there and actually kind of be in tune with what's going on and be able to look at a track and see how, identify how old it is. I mean, as a houndsman, you have to be able to do that. And all those things are it's pretty cool to, woodsmanship, I think, is a big thing that's overlooked a little bit.
Yeah,
and each pursuit that you do builds into that woodsmanship.
Yes.
Hunting a certain animal with a certain weapon is so specific, and it's always at a certain time of the year that you can learn for blacktail rifle hunters. You can learn the October woods really well and what the deer are doing in October and every single specific intricacy of that. But then to try to hunt one with a bow in September is a completely different game. And I think it's even stronger with elk because what I have done before this was rifle elk during the general season.
Okay.
And it is a mess. And there's people everywhere. And there's certain guys who know where to go when the crowds hit the elk woods.
Yep.
But then hunting them in August, they're doing different stuff. They're in different areas. They're
totally different,
completely different. And the weapon's different. And how you get them to come to you is different.
Yep.
And so that all builds into woodsmanship total. So it's kind of like as much time as you can spend in the woods, even if you're just exercising, it's always learning. Every single time you go out there, you're learning something more.
Absolutely.
Well, like before I started archery hunting, pursuit season for bobcat starts in September.
Yeah.
And so we would be in the woods in September, a lot of times late at night, so we didn't bug the archery hunters, but we would learn where the elk were because we'd run into them, and so being out there with the dogs has helped me learn kind of where the elk are. And it's helped me find them, but still
actually one of my favorite hunting spots that I hunt right now, I found because I was hound hunting with you and we lost your dogs, had to go find them, and they were in this spot that was just like, this is an awesome spot. I went back, I've killed 2 bucks in that area.
No kidding.
So, everything helps you learn the woods. And even the more specific part of it, like how to walk in the woods quietly, because you can think during the rainy season that you're really quiet and you're really good at spotting stuff when there's no leaves on the trees. And then you go at the end of turkey season and it's dry and everything is leafed out. and you
So
can't find a
hard.
living thing, you know.
Right.
It just all feeds into itself. But yeah, I really do love the conversation of woodsmanship, so I'll be excited to listen to
It's
that
cool.
that
It is
podcast
neat.
there. Speaking of that, as we're talking about learning and every time you go out learning more, what are some lessons that you're still learning in hunting? As someone who's been hunting for a while and spent your life in the woods, what are some of the things that you're still learning?
Great question. We started the YouTube channel, honestly, and a lot of it was to show our mistakes. You know what I mean? So it knocks down that learning curve for people. Like, okay, what did we do wrong here? And we started it out like, okay, we're only gonna, we're showing all the successes and everything. And when we actually got way more views and way more relatable was when we started showing all our screw ups.
Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh.
So it's like, all right, let's break this down. Okay, why did this go wrong? Well, what was the wind doing, or what? All these little things, these just tiny things that can make as you guys know, make such a big difference. And yeah, you have no idea how many times we've got on a herd and, okay, I'm going to jump back and call. You just get up here and get a good spot. All the elk are just calm. I blow a bugle and they all just raise their heads and just take off running. You have no idea how many. You have no idea how many times. And you look at yourself like, what did I say? I don't know what I said there, but it must not have been good. And so, I mean, it happens to us
You
all
said,
the time.
run, there's a hunter.
Apparently, I didn't say the right thing. So yeah, always learning, and every single year it's new lessons. And I've been blessed to be able to hunt with other guys, a lot of really good elk hunters out there, and be able to kind of learn some stuff from them. And everybody does it a little bit differently, right? Everybody kind of goes about it a little different. So those lessons are valuable too. So it's just, you're always learning. If you're not learning and if you're not screwing it up, you're not being aggressive enough.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from you is more than the successes, because the successes are not very common.
No.
Out of the whole draw of time spent in the woods. But the failures are the biggest lessons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what is the average? Like what, 10%? Something like, I think Roosevelt's, I think it's even lower.
Less.
I think it's
less.
It's like 6 or 7%.
I think 7.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a big factor, man. That's a hard number to go against.
My biggest learning curve was I was in elk for like 10 hours one day.
That's awesome.
And on the herd, kept bumping them, kept moving them, and hindsight said I should have just backed off and went around, but I kept on them. Mm-hmm. And this bull did not want to play. He had too many cows, and I did end up shutting up for like an hour. And I had cows above me. And I thought, oh, he's going to come get them. This is perfect. He's got to come right through where I'm sitting. And he didn't, and I bugled again. And sure enough, he was down in the bottom, and he screamed back and forth this whole time. And he did not want to play.
Oh yeah.
He was just he
knew something was
wrong. He knew something was different, and he did not want to play. And I think it was because there was a younger bull that had been there earlier, and he didn't want to leave his cows. And he said, "I don't care about those ones that went up the hill. I got a bunch down here." And that was my biggest learning curve. It's like, well, that's not always the case. They're not always going to come gather their cows.
No.
Especially if the hot cow stayed down, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He'll wait till darkness usually.
Right.
Usually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times he'll probably stay down there, and then at dark he'll find them.
He'll find them. He'll fight off all the satellite bulls, right?
Oh yeah. He'll usually come back. But yeah, no, that's a great one. That's a great one. Yeah.
Had I done something a little different, got ahead of him, or something, it may have made a difference. But that bull was pushing his cows and never wanted to play ball. So
and on that note of like learning from your failures, our most listened to episode ever was our John Barklow interview, but the second most listened to episode was when I was really vulnerable about my mistakes killing my first bull this year.
Oh, nice.
And I went really deep into the woods, and because when you mess up and you waste an animal like that, you never forget it.
No.
And it's kind of a thing where people who grow up in the woods on property, who hunt in their backyard, and they just wake up in the morning and shoot a buck off their porch, those people rarely have the same drive and desire for hunting than people who have to really fight for it.
Yeah.
And if you go 3 or 4 years before you kill your first buck, you're that passion and that pursuit is never going to die.
Yeah.
You could kill a buck every year after that. You'll never get tired of it because you know the work for me, the way part of that, like with me messing up on my elk this year, making a horrible shot, if I would have just gone out there my first archery season by myself, filled my tag, gotten a nice elk, I don't think I would have had the same respect for archery hunting that I have now. It would have been the same if I didn't fill my tag at all, or if I, called in a bull and messed it up, or I didn't even hear a bugle all season. I called him in with cow calls and all that stuff. But I made a horrible shot. I wasn't disciplined with my gear even, and so my peep slid up and down.
Oh, wow.
And that was a huge factor in it.
Yeah.
Also, just not relying on the rangefinder, rather going off of my gut. All these factors came into play. I was aiming in the wrong spot on a frontal shot on my first, so many mistakes that by putting it out there, people really related to it. And it's like the only episode we've put out where I get people still messaging us like, hey, thank you for putting that out there.
Yep.
I had something similar, or, it helped me out a lot knowing what to do. And then the mistakes that were made afterward of pushing it when should have given it more time.
Probably, yeah.
And so all that, though, it's in the failures. I'm lucky that I have this platform that I'm able to do a really deep dive move by move of what I did right and wrong and explain it. And then hopefully people can learn some of those lessons that I learned firsthand, secondhand.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes down to, if there's something wrong with your bow,
Don't take it in the woods.
don't take it in the woods. I should have never gone out there with my peep sliding. That was just dumb.
Yeah, that's
But
tough.
I didn't have, well, I'll do air quotes, I didn't have time to go get it fixed. Well, and so what happened? I killed a bull and it took me 3 days to find him and lost all the meat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny you bring that up. Like, you guys started really getting popular when you were sharing the failures. And that's true on this. One of our most popular and most shared episodes is me telling the deep dive. I don't know. To people who don't hunt, it's probably the most boring thing ever, because it's just me sitting there telling to the most minute details the story of me messing up on my first elk. But I also now have such a deeper respect for it, and I am a lot more careful and disciplined in everything from how I shoot to what I'm okay with walking in the woods with. And I will never go into the woods with a loose sight.
And that interprets, man, so much into life. I mean, really, to life. It's like all the screw-ups and mistakes that we make, or, there's always forgiveness there, obviously, and you need to learn from those mistakes. But at the same time, it's just like, I still did it, and I need to take a step back, maybe. And how do I assess this, and how do I make it right, or something of that nature. Right. So there's so many similarities of hunting and just relationships in life.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yes, hunting obviously translates to woodsmanship knowledge.
Yeah.
But it also translates to character and just exactly like what you're saying, lessons you learn outside of life, how to conduct yourself.
Yep.
How to be an honest person. Because that's one thing which Nate Bailey.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of his main point that he takes away from his life in the outdoors, is that when you're in the woods, you can't lie, you can't pretend. You are who you are, and you have the capabilities you have. And if you try to pretend, there's a chance you're going to die, And so
that's the most drastic side, I guess.
Yeah. You can't fake it in the wilderness. You
can't.
You are who you are, and it is what it is. And so as much as we fake it in life and try to go as long as we can, if you're just real with yourself,
you have to be
better. Yeah.
You have to be. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what type of hunting haven't you done?
Oh, tons. I mean, that's what everybody asks me, Trent, do you want to go to Africa? And I have I just have no, I'd love to go to Africa to like to view all the stuff. I think I just don't, killing a zebra or a lion or anything. It just doesn't, it really doesn't appeal to me. And, but there's so many things like Tara, New Zealand, and stuff like that, that I think would be kind of neat, but I don't know. Yeah. There's actually a breed of Asiatic elk, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's Argentina or something.
I didn't know about those.
And they do the same. They bugle. They bugle? Same thing, man. And it just looks super fun. And it's like that trip would be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
But
is it like really hard to get out there and do that?
yeah, I think it's a lot of going, over borders that with weapons and stuff. I think that's the difficult part is getting into the countries and stuff like that with your even a bow. I think it's pretty difficult. So, but no, I don't have really any. I don't really have like any bucket list goals. I always say my favorite hunt is my next hunt. Yeah. That's what I always say, because if I need to be able to go into that hunt going, this is what I want to do. This is my favorite. This is okay. And then my next favorite is going to be the next one that I do. I need to make it that much fun. I need to make it, be that enjoyable to where that's going to be my favorite hunt for the time being, So that's the way I try to treat it, just because if you just go into it and be like, yeah, we're on this, we're over here hunting mule deer again, or whatever. It's just, that's just not the way I don't think it's respectful at all.
I like that mindset. You're right about the respect part of it. That's huge, because to just flippantly go out there and say, another year, I guess I'll hunt this tag this year, but you're taking a life of a creature
100%,
that's on the landscape, and you're eating it, and it's feeding you and your family. To just kind of be like, well, I guess I have to do this. Well, maybe if you're saying that to yourself, you just should sit it out till you draw that tag you want.
You owe it that respect.
Yeah. No, that's really a good mindset there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any hunt that you would like never do? I mean, you mentioned Africa.
Giraffe. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? I'm like, it just doesn't do anything.
What, you don't like neck meat?
It's just like,
you can make a whole bunch of neck roast.
I think I would look at that and just be like, what did I just do? Why did I do that?
You don't want a giraffe rug for up here in the
I think it would go really good next to your elk over there.
Yeah, there you go.
Or you could put the elk head on the giraffe. That would trip some people out.
Exactly. No, I don't really have one that it's just like a no-go for me. I think it's like I said, it's about who you're going with too, man. It's about the camaraderie and who's there with you on that. I honestly, that would be a good statement, I guess, is hunting alone doesn't appeal to me.
Really?
Okay. Not too much. It's more about the friendship and the camaraderie and everything and stuff. Like, to me, to just go out alone and go hunting. Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't. I've done it numerous times, and don't get me wrong, there is some sort of gratitude to be able to go out there and have success by yourself and do that. There definitely is, but it doesn't appeal to me as much as hunting with 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, yeah. I find that too. When I go, it's not the same. Yeah, like it's almost I've drew an antelope. I drew Gerber Reservoir a couple times, and I went by myself. I hated it. I stayed for 3 days and I left when I was planning to stay the whole week, because I was by myself, and I just didn't like it. And even now running dogs, I don't like to go by myself. Yeah, that's something that should be enjoyed with other people, and so it's hard to do it, and to work out time schedules with people and that kind of stuff, but it's so much better with other people.
100%.
So much better. I enjoy it 10 times more. And like we were talking before, if I would have had somebody with me a few times that I went by myself, I probably would have been successful, and that bull would have came in a little different, or I've been able to set up a little different than I was. And I would have been punching my first elk tag, but
it's going to happen.
Eventually.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
So yeah, this year. This will be the
year. You're doing
the
right things. It's going to happen.
Yeah. For me, because I do a lot of solo hunting, because I do a lot of day trips. So I'll go out and working in ministry, my hours are pretty flexible. So I can hunt during prime time for a handful of hours and then do my work later in the day. Or vice versa. I can hunt as the sun's going down and get my work done earlier.
That's nice.
And so, but what that leads to is a lot of midweek hunts where, everyone else is at work. Yeah. Everyone else is doing real work. And so, to be able to go out by myself, for me, it's kind of a sacred experience.
Totally.
And when I go a whole season with only hunting with other people, I start to crave that time out there by myself. That honestly is, what's the word? Satiated. It's fulfilled.
I don't know that one.
That's a big word, Brian. I don't know.
The feeling for needing to be alone hunting is fulfilled by even just me going out there and walking around by myself.
And sometimes that's a recharge for people, like to recharge the batteries, to just like be calm at peace.
Especially because I take a lot of strangers hunting during the rifle deer season. I take a bunch of people hunting, and I kind of get a little worn out of being a free hunting guide. Yeah. And it's like, okay, the last few days of the season, I'm not taking anyone else. Yeah. I'll hunt with people like Jericho, that they know what they're doing and they're helping me glass, and they're, and I have some friendships I've built up that like, I'll hunt with you because I'm hunting with you. I'm not hunting for you. It's totally different, and I love taking people out. Like that's something I'll never stop doing, and I always want to do it. And I'm always down to take someone hunting. But I also see the other side of the coin of like, there's something very special and sacred to me about being out there alone.
Well, even in the Bible, like Jesus, his disciples, he was around them all of the time. Yeah. But so many times he's like, I've got to go on my own.
You ever hung out with 11 young men?
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine what that was like? Yeah. It would be like, and being smarter by far than all of them. You know what I mean? Being holier and smarter.
Infinitely so.
Perfect. And being like, I got to go by myself, guys. It's getting too
much. You guys go ahead and go across the lake. I'll catch up with you later.
How did his ministry start? He went off on his own in the wilderness, to the desert for 40 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't spent that much time out there alone before.
I don't want to.
He wasn't eating or drinking anything during that time too.
No.
So
That's to it. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. No, that's some good insight there though. Hunting with people, it's like a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely is, and it can go any way that you want it to. Like that's what I like about it now is like I'm hoping that I actually, when I take people hunting or when I hunt with other people, I'm hoping that they're actually feeding off of me too. You know what I mean? Like that it's that much of a
symbiotic.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's good. Awesome. So one thing, you guys have had a hand in the rise in popularity of bow hunting, I think. I don't know how much credit for that you want to take.
That's why I started.
And then now I bow hunt because of Jericho, so I vicariously bow hunt because of you guys. Yeah. And so with that, I mean, bow hunting is huge now, and I'm not going to give you guys all the credit for that. It's also just an amazing sport. The 100%. Shooting bows is fun. Like, I've never really been a huge gun guy. I shoot to sight in my stuff, and that's about it. It also costs a lot of money. But shooting a bow is fun. I shoot my bow in my backyard every single day. Yeah.
It's therapy, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So bow hunting is huge now, though. Should we be worried about too many bow hunters?
Hard to say. It goes state by state, right? So obviously this question falls on the Fish and Game, like how many tags they issue, how many, success rates aren't, if you look at the numbers, honestly, like they're actually hunter numbers are actually going down, actually.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yeah, if you look across the gambit.
That is hard to believe.
Yeah, but the thing is the percentage of good hunters with all the knowledge, with all the onyxes and all the bugle, all this stuff and everything, the percentage of the success is going up. So you got you've got less hunters, but really, I mean, about the same amount of hunters, but they're all getting better at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so chasing the animals. And so like we would go to Colorado and we would just go over there to a wilderness zone and, there'd be, 4, 5, 6 rigs at the trailhead, and so when we'd gear up and everything and go in for like 8 days. The very next year we went there, and because of social media and because you can look on Google or whatever you can get, whatever mapping system you have, dude, there was like the next year, there's like 28 rigs at the trailhead, and 3 of them had like born and raised stickers in the back. And we get there,
you put on a mask, hide
your
face a little
man.
bit.
And so that's tough. You just got to find a new area, and that's the big. I really hate blowing up people's areas, like say they've been hunting that all their life and now it's just overrun with people because we go there. It's not fair to them at all. And we've accidentally done that before. And so now we really be careful about the backdrop of where we're filming and stuff. And that's gotta be hard. It's just what happens
in one regard, because if someone knows where that is, they're going to know where you are, you know? But
and then you got that one guy that types in, "Oh, you were right here," and then everybody
Yep.
sees it. You know what I mean? So, but I think
thanks, Smarty.
I've had to exactly. You've always got that one guy.
Yeah.
No, but I've had to kind of change my whole demeanor in that a lot, and it's actually been a huge blessing as far as whenever we run into anybody now. The rule is, like, if we run into someone out in the woods, we offer to take them with us, and they can do whatever. They can either be shooter for the next couple hours of the hunt or whatever it may be. And so when you look at it as a blessing to run into some people, when you look at it as, wow, they're out here, the same place I am, because I've done a lot of research to get right here. Right. Obviously they have too. Right. It's like, you got to respect that. You have to. And in order to, like get more involved with that, we just take them hunting for a couple hours.
That's cool.
Yeah, we've never yet we've came close, really close with this guy. Almost killed a bull with us, but never have had someone kill one yet on that day. But it puts off a good impression, and it's like that's what we need to be. That's what we're supposed to be. These people that are showing other people or trying to learn with you, and so
I love that.
You've got to change your mind frame of, oh man, I'm seeing another guy to, hey, buddy, let's work together. Let's try to, because we have this whole thing of when Steve kills a bull, everybody kills a bull. We all killed that elk. Right. I might have called it in, or I might have filmed it, or I might have whatever it may be. And so it's just like, that's our elk. That's not just Steve's elk, So you've got to kind of switch your mind frame a little bit, I think.
Yeah. It's really cool hearing you say that you'll just take someone hunting you met in the woods. Because whenever I tell people that I hunt with strangers, they normally look at me funny, it's just, they're not like, my wife always asks before I go, are you sure this guy's not an axe murderer? And then so many guys, when I take them,
it's hard to say.
And after we kind of get to know each other, they go, yeah, my wife thought you were an axe murderer. So that's really cool to hear you say that.
Yeah, you gain so much more friends, man. It's all camaraderie.
You really do. I've made so many friends in the last few years doing that.
So many.
Well, and you never know, if you get a bull down or whatever, if they're still in the same vicinity, hey, you want to come help us? Or, a lot of times people will offer, and that's pretty cool to have that.
Save you some miles on the pack out.
Yeah. No, that's how I met Josh from Chasing Tails. He's a big blacktail hunter down south, and some guy was in the bottom of this unit, and I'm looking going, what in the world? And he's quartering a deer up all by himself.
Oh, yeah.
So I bailed off, and it was Josh.
Okay, and that's how you met.
That's how I met each other. Give me half of that, and threw it on my back and packed it out for him, and we've been great friends ever since.
That's cool.
It's been cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, should we, as more and more people are bow hunting, should we expect limitations on bow hunting in the future?
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be gear limitations or just season limitations?
It's interesting. So you go down that road, I think, of everybody was kind of slept, we can't use fiber optic sights and all this. Okay, well then they allowed that, right? And then you go down that road, but there is, I think, a point where it goes too far.
There is a battery on your bow.
Exactly. Yeah. There is a point that where does it end? I guess are we Rambo warheads out there? Just what I mean? Where does it stop? So
trad only.
Yeah.
There's a couple hunts like that.
There is, and it's just it's a question I don't know where it ends, but at the same time, there's got to be some sort of, all right, that's, this is about as far as it's going to go,
Yeah.
So, and that's when they brought expandables. Remember, we couldn't use expandables for a long time. And then now you can use expandables for big game. And so all these different rules and regs, everybody still, you got to take it in your own mind of, what do you think is right? And instead of just worrying about someone making a rule for you.
That's why I deleted Onyx. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. I don't think I can ever bring myself to do that.
Don't say that.
That'd be a tough one. That'd be a tough one.
That could be a fun challenge, though. Like, go to a new area you haven't been and don't use your map and see what you can do. That could be a fun challenge.
Yeah, it definitely could be a challenge at times. Yeah.
Might put some more miles under your boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
definitely would.
Because I've been thinking about that as technology advances, and now our bows are shooting so fast. I mean, I'm new to archery hunting, but I've been aware of archery hunting for a long time. And I'm just so impressed by the technology and the engineering. It's like there's no limit. We can make things as specifically designed and perfect as we can.
Yeah.
you know? And
But have they reached the max? Like the compound bow, where
we have
else
to be
does it
close.
go?
How do you go any further?
That's what I'm saying. Like where else?
Rocket-propelled arrows.
I'm into it. I'm voting yes. No. Heat seekers would be
Yeah,
bad.
there you go.
But yeah, I don't. Have we reached the pinnacle of it? Probably not. I don't know, but it's. I don't know.
Some visionary out there probably has a great idea that. So I don't know. We'll see. What do you think Jericho's are going to be in limitations?
I don't know. You know, they've already, as far as just hunting wise, you know, making some of the Eastern tags draw the last couple of years, I think has pushed a lot of guys back west.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they used to be able to go hunt for a week, and if they didn't kill anything, they could come back home, hunt west, and now you can't do that, you know.
Pick one or the other.
You got to pick one or the other, and I
gas
think
prices are going up.
Yeah.
That is true. That
And
is
so
true.
I think that has added to the pressure and is a limit on us, because even I have gone over and dabbled in hunting east for 1 year. Granted, I brought my wife's tags and not mine. When I found that out, I had to go home, but
Besides the point.
besides the point, you know, I enjoyed that, you know, being able to hunt both sides and not worry about it. And now I think with that limitation of one side or the other, you know, it has pushed a lot more people back into our backyards, and and that's a cool thing, though. I mean, they're right to it too. So, you know,
we all live here.
Yeah. It just makes you have to try, you know, go deeper or what, you know,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
It has to make you just kind of shift your whole game plan possibly and say, okay, well, this canyon's so far away from anything. There's got to be an elk in there, right? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
One time I climbed into this deep canyon I went so long, I actually had to crawl up a creek to get up into there because it was so brushy on both sides. And it took me like the whole day to get back there. I put a camera up on what looked like a trail, and it was like in a sandy bottom where the creek gets big in the winter and everything. And I was thinking, okay, I'm further than anyone's going to be willing to go. And I come back 6 months later, not a single animal, not a single picture of anything. Like, I think there was one squirrel. And so that's why I learned the lesson that, you know, you can go past the habitat.
You can
go too
that
far.
That could definitely happen.
But yeah, so, you know, all that to say, you know, we still have lots of great over-the-counter opportunity, and I hope we can keep it for as long as possible.
When you look at it, just compared to all the other states, we're pretty blessed, man.
Yeah.
As far as what we get to do and everything. There's a lot of states, you know, your Nevadas, your Arizonas, your California's brutal too, but it just, as far as like those guys, I talked to a lot, you know, people online, they're like, oh, I don't get to elk hunt this year because, you know, I didn't draw. And it's like, oh man, we're pretty blessed because we can hunt our backyard over the counter. They can't even hunt their whole state. They have to drive clear out of state to get, you know what I mean? It'd be tough.
And that's how I
paying
felt
those
bad
prices,
for
like
the
you just said.
Eastern Oregon guys.
Yeah.
You know, because they're kind of in that, and they're in Oregon.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But out here in the West, another factor that's going to make a difference too on our success rates is it's so wet and brushy here most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I talk to so many people who live in Oregon that don't want to hunt here.
There's a lot of guys that would rather go east.
They just want to go east. Yeah. So, you know, and I just am not really, I'm not there yet. Maybe someday, but I'm not there yet.
I like to hunt. I like to, you know, I can't always drive and make a hunting trip. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just like you. Let's go for the day. Let's go, you know.
Yeah, if I can drive for 45 minutes and even if every other person in Salem hunts there, you know, at least I'm hunting.
And as we've all learned, it doesn't matter if there's somebody there. You know, the elk are there when the elk are there. You know, I've driven down a road, bugled my head off, then went up to the road above it and bugled, and the elk bugled down in the bottom where I just was. You know, so it doesn't matter where we live. We have a lot of OHV trails, and you know, I've had a bull bugling and then a two-stroke go by. And I had a bull that I shot over the back of that was at the top of the mountain where there was cars.
There's restrooms
and cars. And I'm like, that can't be that's got to be some Doug Flutie up there, you know? And nope. I hike up the hill and there he is, you know? And so the elk are where the elk are. And,
they're right where you find them.
And people do move them, but they hear it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they hear the four-wheelers, the motorcycles, they hear the trucks, they hear the chainsaws, they hear everything, you know?
So we're talking about what's unique about Oregon hunting, and And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what do you think is the biggest threat to Oregon hunting right now?
Non-hunters, man.
Yeah.
So I don't think people understand, like, as hunters, we respect these animals more than anybody. We love these animals more than anybody. And it's not, I think it's hard to say that to somebody that's a non-hunter and they don't see it. They just see it as, you want to kill that thing, right? And it's like, no, I love to learn these animals. I love to, God gave us dominion over all of them, whether you believe it or not. But at the same time, it's like, man, we love these things. We want to see them managed. We want to see them flourish. We want to, it's just that whole hard thing to, I guess, explain is that, non-hunters are going to be it's a tough shell to crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. We've already seen some effects of that, and with some of the voting, and it makes it difficult, and they have a right to believe what they believe, but sometimes when it intrudes on our side of things, it's
tough.
Difficult. It makes it hard.
What I would encourage people, like, especially listening to this, is like, especially if you're non-hunter or something, just look at the numbers. Don't look at the cute and cuddly. Don't take it as that's Pooh Bear out there. Look at the numbers of, the retention of fawn being killed by bears or whatever that may be. Let's look at those numbers and let's vote off those numbers instead of voting off your heart of what is.
It has become so emotional based instead of science.
Yes, that is
instead
correct.
Of science based. Like I said, from a houndsman's perspective, you took away the best instrument to manage predators, and it's not like you're going out and killing everyone. You could sit there and look in the tree, look at the cat, decide whether or not you want to take it. And same with bears. And you took that away. And so now most guys, they get a bear or cougar tag with their sports pack. And if they see one, they shoot it.
Correct.
And it doesn't matter what size it is or how old it is. It's, hey, I saw one because I may not get another opportunity. And it was within my rights to shoot it, and they do it. Yeah. And so, like you had said earlier, in the old regulations, the month of December to hunt cougars. And
Crazy.
They did it, and they managed the population.
Yeah.
And now we have a whole year, and you could get 2 tags, and same with bear, you could get 2 tags, and a third if you draw your spring tag, and it's.
I'm out there a lot, and I've never killed a cougar with just seeing one. Never have.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare.
They're the most secretive animal out there.
They are.
By far.
They're a cool animal, man.
But that was voted on by emotion and not by science.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now it's hard to.
That's the whole thing. You make a great point. It's like once that switch gets flipped to off, it is so hard to turn it back on again. It is so hard to reverse that whole thing, and that's what I see about like our spring bear. Right. It could happen. It just happened to Washington.
Yeah, Washington just lost their spring bears.
They just lost their whole spring bear, and they have a lot of spring. I know a lot of people up there, and it just that crushed them. But it's if we're not active and we're not talking about it, it's gonna go away for all of us.
Yeah.
I'll shout out. Someone just started up a new chapter of what I think it's American Bear Foundation.
Yep. I just talked with him actually last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been sending me his stuff to, try to promote and post, so we'll give a shout out to them. I mean, if it can happen in Washington, you better believe it can happen here. And Oregon so often follows California and Washington.
100%.
California, didn't they lose bear hunting a while ago?
Actually, they oddly enough, it ended in 2012 that they could stop hunting with bears, which
with hounds, you mean?
With hounds. Not hunting with bears.
So that's like
so they were
20 years after Oregon.
Yeah. So
and there is
18.
man. I've been to California a number of times, like where I've cut timber down there, and there's bears everywhere.
Yeah.
They're bared up, huh?
Oh man, it's one time we come out of cutting all day, and there's a bear in the back of the truck eating. They like oil. They do. They'll eat your whole oil jug. They'll eat it all.
Like the bar oil?
Bar oil, yeah. They'll eat it all. And there's a lot of times you'd have bear paw prints on your pickup when you got up there. And man.
Looking for that bar oil.
There's a lot.
Get for them, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, that's some great insight there. So we're getting close to time, so we'll move on to the last 2 sections.
Okay.
So one thing that's important to us is that our listeners always get some just direct advice to apply to their outdoor pursuits. archery season's coming up. It's kind of the thing. So I wanted to ask you for some tips on archery as far as gear. And I have a question like, how do you practice in order to bring in some realism? Because shooting at 20 yards on a flat in your backyard is totally different, as I've learned from being out there. Like, how do you bring realism into your practicing?
That's a great question. Lots of different shots, like you said, like you get in your backyard and it's something you're comfortable with, get out of that comfort zone. So take the comfort zone on a side hill, put a target down, at a 35 yard shot or whatever it may be, kind of practice in those scenarios. There's nothing that's going to replicate a screaming bull that's peeing on himself, ripping things out of the ground. It's just, it's not going to happen. I mean, you could have one of your buddies run down there and do that, but it's not going to happen. So I mean, everything that you can do is what I do when I shoot, when I practice. My first arrow is always going to be my arrow that I'm just going to shoot, and I really want to hit, right? And then the practice session starts after that. So what I'll do is I'll like really close my mind and really focus on that first arrow, because usually that's all you're going to get anyway.
Are you saying you're literally using the arrow you're going to hunt with?
So it's
not just
necessarily.
You treat it as though that's the arrow.
I treat it as though that's the scenario.
Got
I
it.
get one chance at this. How close can I get to that bullseye or that elk lung or whatever I'm shooting at, at the time. It's a mindset. You have to. So everybody goes through, like when you get into a scenario with an elk coming in, I have to take deep breaths. And I have to really, really focus on, I do all yardage first. I don't focus on the animal. I'm trying to focus on yardage. And then I'm going through some breathing stuff. And I mean, it's all a process, but it's some that everybody probably does different, So,
Sure. Yeah.
But then after that arrow gets shot, my heart just pounds out of its chest usually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just start getting excited, and it's
yeah.
just like, that's what, but until then, it's just like, I got to keep it together until this bow goes off.
How do you practice getting over like buck fever? Is there a way to practice overcoming that,
Little bit, no, yes and no. It's just, like I said, the breathing situation, doing that, and then having your mind go, how do I make this make sense? Having your mind layer over the fact that what the situation is.
Right.
So if I go into it and I'm really concentrating my mind, okay, I just need to take deep breaths and, okay, where's my yardage? My mind's not, oh, that's a big one. Oh boy, that's a big one. That's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to different things. And so I'm closing my mind off. Joel Turner, I don't know if you guys have heard of Joel Turner. He does Shot IQ, it's called.
Okay.
Great
Rings
dude.
a bell.
Yeah, great dude. I've done a couple podcasts with him. He's a good guy, and he gives people classes on how getting over target panic and how to really close the mind down and focus on one thing at a time. And but it's so hard, man.
Yeah.
It's so difficult.
Well, that's been my biggest issue. Is I practice. I'm shooting good. And then a bull comes in, or I have a deer standing in front of me, and I'm like,
because
my mind is just gone.
Everything, all the preparation, all the hours that you've put in leads up to that moment. You know what I mean?
Miles, the mornings,
everything.
leaving the family.
Time away from home, all that. And so you're like, I need to probably make this happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I wing one over his back or whatever.
Right.
That can happen. That can definitely happen, man.
Yeah.
And I've said it a few times on the podcast, but I actually had more buck fever when I shot my first turkey than when I shot my first elk.
I don't even think that's a real thing, is it? I get it worse with my kids.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh.
You get 4 of them?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm over here. My daughter shot a cow last year, and I'm over here just... okay.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was just
She's
a
like,
mess.
she's
I
like,
was a
calm
mess.
down.
Oh,
Dial
pretty
in.
much she's calming me down. Yeah.
That's funny.
Dad, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Deep breath, maybe.
Do you do any kind of strength building exercises?
I do. So I bike and I jog. Well, what I do is, it's not running. It's kind of a slog, I guess it is. But
With weight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times, so me and my wife we'll go hike quite a bit. We like to just hike trails and stuff around. We've got quite a few that we do, and so I'll do a weighted pack. Put 60 pounds in a pack and then go hike with her.
Oh, 60 pounds, no joke.
Usually is what I try to keep at that 50 somewhere in there, and then do a couple miles or whatever. But yeah, just keeping active and keeping going. I have to, or else I just get to where I can't go when I'm out there, because a lot of times we're going for a month straight.
Right.
If I break down, it just
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So not necessarily for your bow shooting stabilization or draw or any of that, but you're doing more of the endurance exercises.
nope. All I do for that pretty much is just shoot.
Shoot.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I've landed, is shooting your bow is really the only exercise that uses those groups,
True.
muscle groups.
Yeah.
Like there's not anything.
You can do, there's different exercises and
You could work out with bands or
bands,
something.
exercises. There's,
but-
Sure.
upright rows. There's a lot of different
Starting
things.
a lawnmower.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of different workouts you can do with it, but
So if you want to be good at bow hunting, just get a bad lawnmower.
just, yeah.
There you go.
I own a lawn service.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what do you think separates a good bow hunter from a bad one?
Time, failures. Man, failures is so much. I think as far as you cannot go out there and I think what separates a lot of bow hunters is, and this may not make sense right off the bat, but is the ability to fail. Like you've got to go out there. I've talked to so many people. They say that bull was down on the bottom and he would bugle every single time at me, every single time. And I said, "What'd you do?" He goes, "Well, he never came in."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, okay, how many hours did you have?" He goes, "I had 2 hours of daylight left."
Yeah.
Well, why didn't? Okay, let's get the wind. Let's get, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So it's the ability to not be able to fail, and that's what I think separates the good bow hunters from the not bad. There's no such thing as a bad bow hunter, but just the successful bow hunters from non-successful is the right to be going out there and being like, "I screwed that all up. Now why did I do it?"
Yeah.
And learning from it. So, and you asked a question earlier, like, have I changed? Has anything changed for me? I'm a lot slower now as far as like, I'll get a bull to bugle and then it's, all right, I'm going to jump on my maps. I'm going to pinpoint that bull right off the bat. Is there a bench right there? Does he have cows there? What's going on with that elk where he's there right now? And then I'm going to go, okay, what's the wind doing? Do I need to wait 2-3 hours? Because it might be, 9 o'clock. I need to wait for that wind to actually start ripping up the hill before I can even try to go in on him. All these things, whereas back in the day, it would have been bonsai, grab the arrows, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm still at that point.
Yeah. So it's like really, when you get a chance and to make that chess move, you're making the right move. So, a little bit of slower.
That's super good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then one more tips question, more on the gear side, and sort of leading into this question. I was doing a bunch of research on stabilizers. What's the right length, weight? What do they even do? It doesn't seem like I have a little 8-inch rubber thing. It doesn't seem like it do anything. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to try it without it. So I pulled my stabilizer off, and I didn't even need to draw the bow back. As soon as I held my bow and kind of tried to balance it, the thing was flopping over forward really hard. Like I had to use my wrist to hold it up. And then I put my stupid little rubber, I didn't believe it could even do anything, stabilizer on it, and it's just balanced perfectly. So, I mean, I thought that was pretty funny because I was starting to get really incredulous about what stabilizer, because, people are putting these 12-inch things on their front of their bows now.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, what's a gear tip for you that you'd give? Like
I'm the worst guy for this question.
A bow accessory.
Bow accessory. So I've never ever shot an elk with the stabilizer on.
Really?
No.
Okay.
And I've always been the guy that just says, just hold your bow still. Why are you packing an extra 3 pounds? It doesn't make any sense. But so I'm not the greatest for this question.
Sure.
But just a bow accessory. I don't know if it would be that. Just be proficient, man. Just be proficient. Everybody, I get a lot of questions on, well, what's the best broadhead to shoot? Well, the best one is the one that shoots best out of your bow.
You point them to your YouTube video.
And the one, the one I'm selling. Whatever works best for you. Have a couple different ones. Whatever shoots and groups the best. That's, you need to have confidence, and that's the biggest thing. It's bigger than a bow hack. It's bigger than a wind checker. It's bigger than anything. It's just having the confidence that you're going to go out there. And I think a lot of people, they're like, I don't know if I'm going to get one this year. Go out there with the mindset, I'm getting one this year. That's not going to not happen. I'm getting one. It just matters how long it takes me to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That would be the best.
So there's no magical accessory we can get.
No fairy dust that I've seen until they come out with those exploding tips.
There you go.
There's no elk magnets? Okay.
No.
All right.
Wind checker, though, I will say, it had better be your friend if you're elk hunting.
Oh, yeah.
It had better be your best friend.
That might be a good one. Put one of those diffusers on top of your bow.
There you go.
You can constantly see
Constant
the wind.
wind checker.
Yeah.
All right. So everything that we do with this podcast and with our club, we're really trying to help people get this vision of connecting with something bigger than yourself, who we've identified as God, while you're out there. And so I wanted to ask you, what is your spiritual connection to your life in the outdoors?
Yeah, great question. Great question. When you get out there and you spend enough time in the woods, just a sunrise, how about that? Just a sunrise. Sure. And you look at that, and let alone the frogs and the even though mosquitoes are pesky, everything flying in the air, and then the elk and stuff like that. And there's no way that, in my opinion, that you can't think there's a God out there that created all this stuff. It didn't just blow up one day and this is what it is, And so I think reverence a little bit to that. And you can get jaded to it. I think you can get out there and just, it's another hunt. It's another,
Becomes work.
Yeah, really get out there and every single time be like, man, I'm the first person to probably stand right here and see this, whatever that is, or the elk or whatever. That's what I would say. As far as just, think about what it took to get to where you're at.
Sure.
And be respectful, and you've got it, man. Yeah, if you're on the fence of believing in God or whatever, do a little deep dive. Just check some stuff out. Read some Bible verses, or go to a church, or find a men's group like this podcast or something like that. Because there's all these signs in front of you. You just have to open up your eyes to see them.
Right.
So, do you think that's unique to the outdoor experience? Do you think that us outdoorsmen have a upper hand in that than someone who never goes in the woods?
I think I don't know. I think we might. Yeah, because we feel differently, right? We feel that those connections, I think maybe. I would say, probably. Like if you don't, you should, you should. Like we've got to be, humbled, and we've got to be, for lack of a better word, rejoicing what's all here, for what we have, for that. And we just talked about, we live in the best place in the world. We can go do this out our back door.
Yeah.
That's pretty special, man. That's super special.
Yeah.
So how has that perspective that you're explaining right now, has that sort of had an impact in the direction you've gone with your life, or even how you live your life?
Yeah. So I don't necessarily preach or anything, because I've been asked to preach a bunch, and I'm scared.
Really?
And I'm scared to death to do that.
And you're preaching right now, so I'm sorry to make you nervous.
No. This is great. But as far as just like what I'll do is just pray, at the first of a hunt, or opening at the first of the day, or whatever that may be. And if that sparks something in somebody else to want to dig deeper or something, that's super, super cool. Right. But that's kind of that's kind of the way I do it. I don't try to say you have to do this or you're going to hell. I don't try to just go about it like that at all. Just a simple, hey, if you want to have a better life, if you want to see some better things, then that's an awesome option.
Yeah.
For sure. When you go into the woods and you look at things, and you look at, even the bark on a tree. Yeah. Or the fact that the tree has rings to measure its years of life, or the fact that the sap, in the water comes up through the roots, or you look at those things and you can't say that wasn't designed. Yeah. It is so hard for me, when people think that way, when they look at that, I'm like, how can you not see that? Yeah. Right? Like, and for me, it's an obvious thing, right? I believe that God created the heavens and the earth. Sure. Right? And like you said earlier, I believe that he gave us dominion over it. The first job he gave Adam was to name the animals, right? Yeah. And then he said after that, after they had sinned, after they had left the garden, now to Noah, everything is food for you. Yeah. Right? And that is the reason we do these things, and to go out in the outdoors and not see that's a wonder for me. How you can look at that and say, oh no, this just got here. Yep. When you look at the topography, this just got here. Oh no, I think something else did this, right? Mm-hmm. I think there was something behind this and a reason for this, right?
And it's easy to take those things for granted.
Oh, for sure.
Isn't it? Like,
for sure.
I've seen it 100 times. I've seen another sunset. Right. But it's like, man, it's easy to take those things for granted.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I've talked to hopefully even some people listening to this who don't draw that conclusion from their life in the outdoors, at least they don't yet. We sense something bigger than us when we're out there. At first, they attribute it to, well, it's just the earth. The earth is bigger and it's beautiful and it's grand, and the trees and the forests and the mountains. But then it kind of gets bigger, and it's like, oh, it's the universe. And, you start thinking like, well, the universe wants this, that there's a lot of that spirituality out there that's pointed toward the universe. My encouragement is to think about the creator of the universe. Can these things really have been here by themselves? Okay. If they could have, if there's even a chance that there's a God who designed it all and that made it all, from the little tiny details of the frogs and the trees to the big, huge, grand sunsets and the stars and the cosmos and the universe, isn't it worth at least exploring that option?
Yeah.
Right.
And then when it comes to the point that you begin exploring that, you have to wonder, have I offended that being by worshiping his creation rather than himself?
Yeah, the creator.
And because there's this what we call general revelation of God, and that's what we're talking about right now, is we sense that there's a God because of nature and the universe and the world being so big. And so in that way, you can talk to almost any outdoorsman and they'll say there's something bigger out there.
Right.
Whether they attribute it to the universe or something else.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, that's great. That's a starting point. But did you know that this God has specifically revealed himself and given us a name to call him? We believe that he came, wrapped himself in flesh, died on the cross for our sins. And the reason why that had to happen is so we could have a relationship with him. So my encouragement, like Trent was saying, if you're someone who's enthralled with the outdoors like we are, and you're starting to kind of sense that there's something bigger out there, start exploring, whether you even just try praying. Or download the Bible app and you can just start reading it and see what it's all about. Find a good church maybe, and there's plenty of people that are going to want to talk with you about that. But it begins with yourself, and it has to be your own faith that you discover on your own. But God has specifically revealed himself to you. And there's channels and avenues for you to learn about who he is, what his desires are. And I'll spoil it now and say that he loves you.
Oh yeah.
He's not a spiteful, angry being who wants to punish everyone who doesn't know him. He wants everyone to know him. But in this life, we get the choice to know him or to ignore all the evidence that we experience, the feeling of this being humbled by the gigantic beauty of creation that points to God. We can go our whole lives and choose to ignore it. We're free to, but there's consequences for that. So yeah, my encouragement, as Trent said, and as Jericho was getting at, is just open your mind to it. Pray, read the Bible, try any avenue at all, whatever that looks like for you. And I trust that God will meet you in that.
It says in Romans, that even the rocks will cry out, and that creation will declare the glory of God. And we serve a God that wants to have a relationship with us, but our sins separate us from God. And sins are anything we think, say, or do that goes against God's moral law. The Bible says that we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And those sins, they can't be removed by good deeds. We can't do anything to balance the scale, so to speak. But paying the price for sin, Jesus died and he rose again in our place, because the penalty of sin is death. And everyone who believes in him and him alone will have eternal life. And that life starts now and lasts forever, right? And that's the gospel in a nutshell. And that's the good news, that Jesus came, he died, he was buried, and that he rose again for our sins. And that's what I believe. And that's why I love the outdoors, because it's just a reminder God created this for us to enjoy. right? He created the Garden of Eden for Adam and Eve to walk in, to enjoy, to have a relationship with him. It says that he walked in the garden with them, but then he also gave us free will.
Mm-hmm.
He also gave us a choice, right? And man chose sin over God. But he didn't just leave us here. He didn't just say, okay, fine, I'm done with you.
Right.
He said, I still want to have a relationship with you. But because you have offended my holiness, right? Because he's such a holy God. Because you have offended my holiness, now there's got to be this other way. And that's why he sent Jesus. And so if you believe that today, you become part of the family of God. And you'll receive eternal life. And he'll give you his Holy Spirit, and he'll come into your life, and all of a sudden things that you once thought and desired to do will become undesirable to you. There will be so much more joy in your life when you know him than when you don't know him. And you'll be able to see creation, you'll be able to see the woods, you'll be able to experience it in a whole new way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you recognize, man, God created this for me. And that's an awesome, awesome thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Trent.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank you so much.
This has been great.
And thank you for
been
sharing
awesome
that too,
meeting you
Jericho.
guys.
Yeah.
Really been awesome meeting you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the conversation and love seeing what you do. Excited to see more.
Yeah.
And is there anything you want to plug? Anywhere you want to point anyone?
Oh, just, yeah. I mean, if you want to see a bunch of mistakes, you can go to our YouTube channel. No. I just appreciate you guys for coming over. And thank you for everybody that's listening to this as well.
Yeah.
It's just great stuff, guys. Great stuff that you're doing. Great
Sweet.
stuff.
Well, signing out, Trent Fisher, Jericho Brown, and Bryant Ashton. Thanks for listening.
Catch you
Thanks,
next
guys.
time.